And now he's back again teaching in the system. He teaches, Sandor teaches church history at the Protestant Theological School in Kolosvar, at the university there, and is teaching at Star King. You may need to tell us what courses you're teaching there. And a really great opportunity for us to hear from the source, as it were, a little bit about the development of Unitarianism in Transylvania, why there, and why Unitarianism. And so we're thrilled to have you with us today, Dr. Kovacs, and thank you very much.
Good morning. It's so good to see you again here. The history of the 16th century. How much time do we have?
About 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, then I will try to rely less on my written papers and try to have instead a presentation. And maybe it will be a little shorter, but we will have more time for questions, which I think would help us a bit. Let us start with a few maps regarding the history of the 16th century. It is quite known for scholars and even for the average Unitarian Universalists that during the 16th century there were just two countries where the so-called anti-Trinitarians, or as we identify ourselves, Unitarians, were able to form their own churches. These two countries are Poland. Okay, let's move towards Poland. Okay. Oh! Here we are, just up a bit. Yeah, we are in Poland. Actually, the movement has its roots in Poland. The Polish anti-Trinitarians and the Polish spiritualists and rationalists were the first who organized their own institutes. And then we move in, in Transylvania. Basically, these are the two countries where they formed churches, organized institutions. There were all over Europe free thinkers and heretics hiding in different places. But sooner or later they were discovered. And basically what happened, it was an emigration, either from Italy up to Switzerland, and then from Switzerland to Poland, and then down to Transylvania. Every heretic ended up sooner or later in Transylvania, if they were lucky. If they were not lucky, they had the fate of Michael Servetus, who was burned on the stake in Geneva. But Transylvania and Poland gave asylum. Asylum? That's the word. Why you pronounce it in another way than asylum to those hunted heretics. And now we will have another map of Hungary and Transylvania right in the middle of the 16th century. Yeah, we are in Transylvania right now. You can see that this is the eastern part of Hungary. We will have some other pictures about the medieval kingdom as well. So this would be basically the territory of Transylvania. This yellowish part. I don't want to move in Moldavia. Okay. Transylvania was formed as a principality on her own because the Turks occupied the middle part of Hungary. This white part belonged to the Ottoman Empire, up to here. Even the capital, Buda, which is nowadays Budapest because the two cities were united, was ruled by the Turks. The Turks defended the Hungarian army for the first time in 5026, down here at somewhere in this region at Mohács. That was the defeat of Mohács, when basically the Hungarian kingdom lost her independence. And however, the Turks did not settle in the middle of the country at that time. They went up to Vienna, of course, that was the way, and that was the aim of the Turks, to conquer Vienna, because that would be then the gate to the rest of Western Europe. And they did not succeed in conquering Vienna. So they come back several times to do the same thing, and basically this was the highway to Vienna. And in 5041, they occupied the capital, Buda. And in the capital, well, occupying the royal palace and really the heart of the old Hungarian kingdom, they basically became the new rulers of the realm. What remained from the medieval Hungary is just this part, which was ruled by the Habsburgs. We will continue the story in a few minutes. I want you just to show a few more maps to have an idea how we are now and why. This is the map of Hungary before the First World War. Basically, these are the borders of the medieval Hungary. So basically from the Adriatic Sea to the east, it was part of the medieval Hungary. Of course, before the First World War, it was already part of the Austro-Hungarian kingdom. After the First World War, Hungary was split in different parts. The white part shows the borders and the size of the actual country, right on the middle. The northern part, let's see if I have any success in using this tool. So this northern part was the Czechoslovakia. Now it's the Czech and Slovak Republic. The eastern part, which was historically and is still historically Transylvania, became part of Romania. And then the southern part is part of Serbia, and then Slavonia. And it's this very little yellowish part, which is part of Austria right now. But you see that the old kingdom, the medieval kingdom, which stopped to exist anymore after 1526, you should be aware of that, was split in so many parts after the First World War. And now, let's have a look on the actual map, how Europe looks like. There we are. Oh, okay. Let's move from France. That's fine. Here we are. There is Romania. The country joined the European Union in 2007, together with Bulgaria, which is south. We were accepted, I mean the country was accepted as an EU member not because we were so smart or we met all the standards what the European Union accepted, but of course because of the cheap labor and free market. That's the reason. And well, there is Hungary. You can see now what is the size of the country. Romania is at least 2.5 times bigger. The population of Romania is about 20 million. The problem is which is a problem for us, but not for the European Union, that about 3.5 million Romanian citizens work in the European Union in different places. There are over 1 million in Italy, over 1 million in Spain, more than 300,000 in Germany, over 100,000 in Belgium, 100,000 in Great Britain, so they are all over the European Union. And this means that they are mostly my generation and even the younger generation. And the country is aging. The birth rate right now is 1.3. It's really not an encouraging sign. When I was born, the birth rate was 68, the birth rate was 17 point something. 17 point something. Yes.
But Ceausescu was against birth control, wasn't he?
Yes, that is the boom.
Yeah.
When they enforced the law against contraceptions and abortion.
How many of the 20 million in Romania, you said 20 million in Romania?
Yes, 20 million.
How many of those are of Hungarian descent or Hungarian heritage?
6%. 6% are Hungarians, and then I will show you the percentage of Unitarians. That is our percentage. 0.29% Unitarians. Of that 6% Hungarian speaking. Well, 6 point something, but it's less than 6.5. Okay, let's go back to a few more. Oh, okay, yeah. I just wanted to show the historical regions. We will talk about Transylvania and the so-called parts. These are parts. We call it parts or partium from the Latin because it was a disputed territory all the time between the Turks and the Transylvanian rulers. Whoever had the luck to conquer it, ruled it. So it changed the ownership from time to time. Now, just have a quick look on the ethnic groups in Romania. It's obvious that the grey is, the green spot in the middle refers to the Hungarian minority. That is basically the Székely land, and there is St. Peter, of course, and every saint is located there. And in the northwestern part, well, you can see this is also inhabited by Hungarians. They are not Unitarians, they are mostly Reformed. And you see that there are some Bulgarians, few of them Serbs, Ukrainians, Croatians. Right here down in the south, it's a small Muslim community. They are Turks. But it's obvious that the country is inhabited by Romanians.
How about gypsies? Are they on the list?
The gypsies do not identify themselves as gypsies or Romas. They identify themselves as Romanians or Hungarians. There is a small group, about a few thousand gypsies identify themselves as gypsies.
And they call themselves Roma.
Yeah, Roma. According to the unofficial census, they are about 4 or 5 million. They are the largest ethnic group, if we can consider them an ethnic group of Romania. If you are interested, I can talk about the Roma issue. That's not that easy. Now, here is the rate of Hungarians living in Transylvania. The more dark the map is, the more Hungarians live on that region. So you can see how we are spread. Basically, there are Unitarians all over. Not that many, of course. Well, we are located mainly in the center, on the Székely land, but there are Unitarians here on the Banat, on the Cat, everywhere. Not that many, but quite an important size. It's again ethnic composition of Transylvania. The pinkish is the Hungarian population, and the bluish is or grayish is the Romanian. Okay, just few important cities. You have visited them all. Maybe you know their Hungarian name, and this is why the map is quite unfamiliar. Every city in Transylvania had 3 names. Transylvania was a trilingual country. German, Hungarian, and Romanian, of course. So every city has 3 names: Romanian, Hungarian, and German. Kolozsvár, which is Cluj-Napoca, right there. Yeah, it's Klausenburg in German, and Kolozsvár, of course, in Hungarian. And this Claudiopolis in Latin we use all of. And then it's Neumarkt in German, Marosvásárhely in Hungarian. And then let's go to Alba Iulia, which is Gyulafehérvár, or Karlsburg, because it was named after the Emperor of Austria. Some of you have been there and seen the tomb of John Sigismund and Queen Isabel. And then if we move a bit eastern, and then there is another historical spot, Deva. That's Deva in all languages. And there is the memorial of Francis Davy, because we do not know his grave site. But he died there, he was martyred there in the castle of fortress of Deva. So these are basically the most important cities of Transylvania. Then again, the historical region, Transylvania on herself. And here are the counties of Transylvania, and the Unitarians leave. Okay, yeah, good. The Kovacs County. It's a huge Unitarian population. Huge. I mean, it's much more important than, for instance, the Huneglara, the most eastern western part. And then the Brașov country has Unitarians. And then Harghita country. Harghita is the most densely populated Unitarian county, of course. And then we move to Maros County. Of course, it has several Unitarian congregations. And then, of course, it's Kolozsvár, the capital and the center of the board. And then Alba County has about 2,000 Unitarians as well. Mostly 3 or 4 congregations. The Torocko congregations, the 2 Torocko congregations belong there. So that was Transylvania.
Sandor, would you mind going back one to the major cities, the next, and just show everyone about where Home Road St. Peter is?
Okay, I will try to show where Home Road St. Peter is. It's right there. It's in between this. It's on this triangle.
In Harghita County.
It's Harghita County. Yeah, it's
just near the end of the south one.
It would be. Yeah, it would be maybe that. It's eastern. Yeah, it's on that country where is Miercurea. Somewhere. It's not really that big. It's one of the nicest villages. It's not the nicest because that's my birthplace. I mean, where my father is, which is, I'd say, 2 hours by foot from St. Peter.
Which is your village?
Kovacs, just across the hill.
Oh, Christmas village is that?
Christmas village, yeah.
Yeah.
Across the hill, and you are right there.
Charlie, just a quick question on Dave. Now, why does Deva have the same name? Does that go all the way back to Roman times or something?
Yes, I think. I think yes. Well, the Romans lived all over, and they built excellent roads. We should have learned something from them, but no way. The Roman roads are still in use. I'm sure you passed on some staff, and passed, of course, some Roman roads. Okay. Then there is a website. If you go there and point on the different counties, then you can find out all the religions, statistics and numbers, exactly how many Romanians, Hungarians, whoever lives there. Okay, and now go back to the 16th century. We stopped when the Turks conquered Buda, and of course she was in Buda, the dowager queen and widow, Queen Isabel. She was 21 years old. She's the daughter of Queen Bona Sforza. She's from Italy, and the King of Poland, Augustin. Yes, Augustin. Sigismund Augustin is his whole name. So she was fluent in Polish, of course, and Italian as father and mother language, and she spoke German and Latin. She was a very well prepared ruler. Unfortunately, she was a woman on the 16th century, and to be a widow with a young baby in an entirely new country is given to you as not a reward, because it was not a reward, but to have a place to live was quite a challenge. And the males on her side were not really on the top of their wrong behavior. He's the husband. They were married for 1.5 years, I think. And he died. As a husband, he was very busy organizing the troops of Transylvania and was not that interested in the young royal offspring and his wife. And well, it's a tragic story. He died without seeing or holding his son. His heir. And then the queen has to move to Gyulafehérvár, to Alba Iulia, if you remember that place on the south. She had to live somewhere. And where? On the former palace, on the palace of the Catholic bishop. So what she did was basically to nationalize the property of the Catholic bishop. There was no other place, no other suitable place for the royal family. So they nationalized or secularized, whatever, took over. However, the bishops were not happy about the Turks and were not happy about Transylvania being on her own or an own rule. It was a vassal state. It paid a tribute every year to the Sultan, but they kept their independence, and the Turks did not interfere on the internal matters. I will quickly. Just a few pictures about our greatest hero, the Hungarian Francis Dali Ferenc. who was in fact German, but never mind. He's Hungarian, of course. The representations are imagined representations. We do not have any veritable, verifiable pictures of him. So basically, you will see, I will show you by the end this monumental picture, the Edict of Torda. He created, the painter, name is Aladár Körösli Kis Aladár. He imagined Dávid Ferenc in his way. And after him, almost every drawing relies on this long hair, skinny, old, not that, well, of course, charismatic and shining Dávid Ferenc, but we don't have any photos.
Portraits, or actual portraits.
Just two more, that's no difference. The last guy is Biandrata, the Italian physicist of the Queen and of the Prince and King John Sigismund. Well, just a few words about Francis David. He was born in Kolozsvár around the 1520s from a Saxon family. We can see the historiography was aware that his father was German, but historians assumed that maybe his mother was Hungarian because of his Hungarian language skills. But no, he was born from a German family, but growing up in a bilingual environment, of course that he was absolutely bilingual. He was elected pre-vicar of the city of Kolozsvár by the German community, not by the Hungarian community. And he served the German community, the Saxon community, till the end of his life, which means that every Sunday he preached in German language, and then in Hungarian language as well.
So they would still have been Catholic at that point?
No, he was not Catholic at that point anymore.
Okay.
He was elected by the Germans when he already shifted from Catholicism to the Lutheran faith.
Okay.
The ideas of Reformation were spread very quickly in Transylvania, especially due to the German merchants. The books of Luther arrived very, very quickly, and then the German settlements and the German cities or Saxon cities embraced Lutheranism and remained faithful to Lutheranism. Francis David, however, switched from Lutheranism to Sacramentarianism, which would be Calvinism. And then from Calvinism to anti-Trinitarianism, and then from anti-Trinitarianism to Unitarianism. These are theological issues and kind of hair splitting.
So they did use the term Unitarian?
No, they did not use the term Unitarian in the 16th century.
Right, that's right.
The first written account is from 1601, when the Diet of Dayzfalva decreed that the Unitarians are included in something. But even later, the decrees, the royal decrees, refers to Unitarians as Arians. You know, Arius, the arch-heretic of the 4th century. David completed his studies in Kolozsvár. He started at the local school, and then he studied at the University of Wittenberg. And after he returned home, he was invited by three major cities, three major Lutheran cities, to be the viper. We call it plebans, which is not equivalent with the viper, is a bit higher. He was invited by the city of Hermannstadt, Sibiu, which was the capital and the chief German city of Transylvania, to be their priest. And then he was invited by Košovice, Košo, which is now in Slovakia up on the northern part, and he was invited by Kolozsvár. And it's very interesting to follow how he played with these cities. Did not answer anyone directly. I mean, did not commit it himself. And then he waited a bit and then decided that, okay, he will go home to his birthplace and accepted Kolozsvár. I'm absolutely sure and convinced that if he would have decided to go to Hermannstadt, Sibiu, he would not be a Hungarian. He would embrace the German culture, because Hermannstadt was German, entirely German. It was Kolozsvár, which was half German, half Hungarian. And then he was kind of both. German by birth, but Hungarian by the culture he embraced and by the language he spoke. Oh, sorry. Here is the... Actually, this is a portrait. He was a royal... His royalness, John Sigismund, or János Zsigmond, as we call it in Hungarian, the son of Isabel and Szapolyai, John Szapolyai, or Szapolyai the first ruler and founder, in fact, of Transylvania. He was converted to Unitarianism due to Francis David and Giorgio Biandrata and some other well-trained and learned clericals and intellectuals. There is a kind of disagreement regarding in which year was John Sigismund converted to Unitarianism. What is the exact date when he was converted? There is not such a date. He was converted in the late 1560s. Of course, the Diet of Tordo is the key point or the watershed, but I don't think that he was already a Unitarian at that time. It took one more year. He became Unitarian just after the debate of Nagyvárad, which took place 1 year later. But these are not very important details. Okay, I wanted to point on this guy, on Michael Servetus. He's one of my favorites. He's the one who really spread the idea of Unitarianism in Transylvania. When he was executed in Geneva, they burned his books, and his most famous book is entitled Restitutio Christianismi, which would be restitution of Christianity. There are 3 existing copies now, three original copies of that book. One is in Edinburgh, the other one is in Bibliothèque Royale in Paris, and the third one is in Vienna. The third copy belonged to the Unitarian Church, not from the 16th century, but from the 17th. However, the Unitarians, Giorgio Biandrata and his companions, were aware of his works, of Servetus' works, and they brought Servetus' books to Transylvania. Francis David got familiar with Servetus, and then that was the point when he changed his Reformed or Calvinist beliefs to Servetus' anti-Trinitarianism. And that's really the point, 1566. This is quite exactly. We know the date when he started to criticize the dogma of the Holy Trinity for the very first time openly from the pulpit. And since that day, he moved towards anti-Trinitarianism and then Unitarianism. The Transylvanians even dared to re-edit Servetus' work, not the entire Restitutio Christianismi, but the most fascinating chapters of it. And they published a book in 1567 entitled De Regno Christi, about the reignship of Jesus Christ, which is in fact Servetus Restitutio Christianism. There is a nice copy in the Bodleian Library in Oxford. And on the title page, someone wrote these two words, Servetus Castratus. It is the castrated servate, meaning that they just edited part of Servetus' work. So he played a very, very important role in spreading the idea of anti-Trinitarianism. I just wanted you to be aware that although Unitarianism is of course Hungarian and highly Hungarian, but on the 16th century they did not thought like we do nowadays. They did not talk about ethnicities, although it was an issue of ethnicity. I will show you right now. You have just a picture about Claudiopolis or Klausenburg or Kolozsvár. It is from the picture is from the 18th century, but it shows a 1517 outlook of it. Let's see. I'll try to point the main church. There is on the main square. That was the Unitarian church. Of course, it was Catholic because it was built on the 40th century. But as the Reformation reached Kolozsvár, the whole city became first Lutheran and then Reformed or Calvinist and then Unitarian. And the church was used by the Unitarians for 150 years. Francis David preached on that church. So if you are visiting Kolozsvár, just go there. We don't want to gut it back. It's big, it's huge. It would be a problem to heat it during the winter.
So that's the Matthias church that's there.
It's not Matthias. It's St. Michael. It's St. Michael. It was dedicated for St. Michael. Matthias is on the square, the statue. But sometimes they associate it with Matthias, even the guides. I mean, it has nothing to do with Matthias. It's Michael.
Oh, and St. Michael Church now, is it just considered a national treasure and maintained, or does a church actually own it, and are there services in St. Michael's?
It's both. It's a national treasure and it's owned by the Catholics. They have Mass every single day, 2 times a day, and they have services there. And it's a national treasure, and they started restoration work, which is partly covered by funds from the European Union.
And it's Roman Catholic Church?
It's Roman Catholic, yes, it's Roman Catholic Church now. It was seized, it's the same spelling almost. It was seized by the Catholics in 1716.
Okay.
So basically from 1566 to 1716 it was Unitarian and used by the Unitarian community. And then the Unitarians were without a church for 80 years. And after that they built their church, the first Unitarian church of Kolozsvár.
The Roman Catholics are what ethnic group now?
Hungarians, but there are more and more Romanians.
Okay, so they're converted from Orthodox.
Yes. Catholicism is quite attractive for them. Mark?
I was just wondering, how did the Catholics seize the church from the Unitarians?
Yeah.
Just the mechanics of that.
Because of the Austrian Empire.
Yeah.
The Austrians
So the government, really.
The Austrians were the new landlords, so they circled, the army circled the church, they pointed the guns and what are the bigger the cannons, and then they asked the plebans, the vicar, will you be kind to be Muslim? And then that was the...
When was that exactly?
1716. And then of course he did it. And the second problem was that they lose not just the church building, but all the surrounding buildings, the shops and the economy. And the Habsburgs, of course the army needed some houses and the soldiers. And the best way to house those guys, to be kind and show your hospitality was to point on the Unitarians. So almost every Unitarian family got about 50, 20 Austrian soldiers. And they ended up really with nothing. There are very impressive stories about this period. Okay, I will end it right here with this map. This map refers to Transylvania in the 16th century. And okay, let's see if this will work. Yeah. Just have a look on this yellowish thing. This is, let's say, the Hungarian deacony diocese. This is the Hungarian diocese. The gray one is the German diocese. This means that the German diocese was supervised by the German superintendent. No matter if you, as German speaker living here, were member of the Reformed Church or for another church, the German superintendent, bishop, had the right to visit the churches and to oversee everything. The same thing here. The Hungarian bishop had the right to visit this congregation, no matter what the local congregation believed or belonged. They were under the supervision of the Hungarian bishop. So basically, Francis Davy, as German, in the city, was elected bishop of the Hungarian community. So he was the bishop of the Hungarians. And this is why he was so successful. Overseeing the whole Hungarian community, he succeeded to convert them from their Reformed faith to a Unitarian faith. You see that on the north there is another German Slav, which is the Bistritz region. Actually, David started his career there as a headmaster, as the headmaster of the local school in Bistritz. Okay, it's an aerial view of the fortress of Deva. Some of you have been there. This is where Francis David died. He was convicted for innovation and then imprisoned there in the fortress of Deva. It was Deva because Deva is far enough from Kolozsvár, and it was far enough from the Unitarian towns and cities to keep Francis David away from his...
And then to buy homes.
convicted by the Transylvanian ruler, by the Diet. It was a political conviction and a religious one. He broke the law of innovation.
What faith was he innovating from?
He moved from anti-Trinitarianism to Unitarianism, which very basically meant that instead of adoring Christ and praying to Christ, he stopped the adoration and declared that Jesus Christ is, in quote, mere human being, because although he believed that Jesus was a human being, he believed that, however, Jesus was a bit elevated over the humans. It was not like us. He still believed in the Immaculate Conception. He believed in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, so that was not a problem. I mean, who dared to question that in the 16th century? But he did not believe that Jesus is God and co-equal with God. So there is a sole God, and no prayers should be or could be addressed to anyone, just the sole one God. And that was enough to convict him. So he died there in the prison of the dungeon there, I think. We don't know exactly the place.
And the Diet was Reformed? Were they Calvinist or?
No, it was with the Catholic.
Oh, it was a Catholic.
But it was not just the Catholic ruler, it was, there were the estates and the Unitarians that were there, so they voted for convicting. That's a very complicated political issues. This is a pilgrimage. Every year in the second week of November, we commemorate the death and life, of course, of Francis David. And mostly the youth organizations are going there, but you can see that it's not just about youth, it's about all ages. We used to go to Deva and have a worship service there. It takes about 2 hours. Well, 4, because we have to go up and then go down. And but it's a very, very nice event to meet your friends and colleagues and be there. And this is the picture what I was referring to. It commemorates the Diet of Torda, 1568, when the religious freedom was declared. And of course, in the center is Francis David, and most of the guys who are portrayed there are historical figures, so we can identify them all, and the students have to know. Yes. Yes. And they have to learn and to know it that okay, there is the Barclay family, John Sigismund, Giorgio Biantrata, Michael Chaki, Melius, Jasper Helkai, Francis David, the Catholics and the estates, so they have to. They are.
Who was the guy pointing? He looks like he's up.
Which one?
The one in
Right.
the foreground, with the red sleeve and the blue.
Looks like he's asking a question or something.
This one?
No,
right.
This one?
No, forward. Forward. No, down.
with the blonde hair.
Right there. Right there. Yeah.
I can tell you something. if you wish.
Was Michael Servetus present at this event? Or
No, he was dead.
He was looking down from heaven. He was looking down from heaven to them.
Oh, 41. Oh,
53.
53.
Oh, 53. 27th of October.
Question.
Please.
When was this painted?
1896.
Because he looks like Ferenc Liszt, is what he looks
Yeah,
like. Yeah.
In 1986, the Hungarian kingdom celebrated her millennium, 1,000 years since her existence. And every single city and town decided that they will commemorate the event. So some cities and towns decided, and villages, that they should plant a forest. They did it. The communists then cut down the whole thing. And the others just erected monuments and so on. However, the town council of Torda started to think about their history, and even though that the town council was not Unitarian, that decided that the most important event in 1,000 years was the Declaration of Religious Freedom. So this happened in 93, and they hired a well-known painter from Hungary and told them that, okay, this is what we want. He moved to Torda, and from Torda to a small village, and in a barn he had his studio, and then he painted this very famous painting. This painting was rewarded at a Paris exhibition and got the first place. And then he moved it to Torda, and it was hanged in the wall of the city hall for centuries. And then after the First World War and after the Second World War, it was in quite a bad condition. After the Second World War, when the Romanians occupied Torda, they were just they played darts with their knives on the painting. So it was almost destroyed, and then they moved it to the museum and just folded, and no one could see. In 1968, when the church celebrated 400 years from the foundation, then it was a big deal, and due to the IRF, the International Association for Religious Freedom, and due to the American Unitarian Universalists, the Romanian government decided that they should restore that painting for the event, and they did it. And then after the museum, after Ceausescu was done, the museum just had bad time, and they again folded the whole picture, and it was hidden. And on the last, I don't know, 3 years ago, I think, they decided that, okay, it's much earlier, they decided that it's the time to renovate the Museum of Torda and expose
Yes.
the picture, show the picture. So there is a large room. The picture is about 3 meters on 4 meters, so it's impressive. And it has its own room, and it's very, very nice. So
Did they do a good job restoring it?
Yes, yes, you can see it even on the picture that they did it. I'm happy for that. And now it's exposed, and every year in January, the diet took place in January, from January 6th to January 13th. And in one day on that week, we used to go to Torda and celebrate, and then following that, it's a celebration and reception in Kolozsvár. Oh, that was all. Thank you.
I have a question. Has anyone ever reenacted the Diet of Torda with the different points of view and the arguments? Because I understood there was at least some written records of the exchanges. But I might be mistaken.
What do you mean?
Well, if they, in modern times, has anyone ever reenacted that debate?
That was not a debate. I don't know why are you talking about a debate. I read about this in some American publication. It was no debate. That was a political act. They did not debate. The debate was later. The debate was in Gyulafehérvár. There were debates in Torda. But on that specific day, there were no debates. They were voting about taxes, military services, how much we will have to pay to the Turks, how we will deal with the Sultan. And then one point was the religious freedom. This act is kind of a peak of a legislative work. The first act and edict regarding religion was passed in 1557 by Queen Isabel. In total, she declared that the old and the new religion should live together without harming each other. The old religion meaning Catholicism, the new religion meaning the Lutheran faith. And then, from time to time, the Diet reinforced that first edict. So already in 1564, a new religion emerged. It was the Reformed religion. And then they decreed that, okay, the old, the new, and the newest should live in peace together and dwell in peace together. And then when the Unitarianism emerged, they decreed that all faiths, which would mean all recognized faiths, should have or should enjoy their privileges. It's a bit complicated, please.
Where were the Romanian Orthodox at this time?
They were in Transylvania. It was a very important community. They did not outgrow the number of the Hungarians and Germans yet. They did not enjoy the privileges, but they were tolerated. So this is not an act of toleration. To tolerate means that one big guy will tolerate the smaller ones around.
Yeah.
This is about free preaching in certain limits. In certain limits. Do not think about 16th century and about religious freedom with 21st century brain and preconceptions. It was not such a thing as religious freedom on the 16th century. No way. No one would understand that. That's John Locke and the fellows of religious freedom. But it was still type of to have 4 recognized religions in that small realm without harming each other. It was indeed a big deal when in Europe even 2 different faiths could not go along. Sorry.
You mentioned earlier that Catholicism was gaining some ground today in 21st century Romania because it's attractive to the Orthodox in some way.
Okay, I will reformulate a bit. It is attractive because the Orthodox Church is more corrupted than the Catholic Church, and many Romanian intellectuals are fed up with the Orthodox Church and with the corruption of the Orthodox priests, and then they decided that enough, we don't want you anymore, we will join the Catholic community. In their liturgy, they are much closer to the Catholics than to us. This is why they are not Unitarians, but we are working on them.
Sounds like the Reformation.
And then...
So I'm thinking about Europe in general and your comment about the not thinking with the 21st century brain. And I think that even having lived in Europe for quite a while, even if you were to put this situation of religious freedom in front of a German or a French person, their understanding of religious freedom would be different than an American's. So we have, it's much broader, the concept. If you were just to say religious freedom to an American, it means something completely different than if you were to say religious freedom to a German. Because the Germans, for example, still have the state religions, and there's a different relationship to religion. And I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Transylvania has her very specific, I mean, the country was situated between, it was a buffer country, between two cultures, East and West. It was multi-religious and multi-ethnic, even in the 16th century. So it was not just one religion, one language. It was easier to implement such a law in a multi-religious, multi-ethnic community than in a monolithic kingdom. I don't know if it makes sense what I try to do.
And it's still, Transylvania still is that way, that all this, as you travel through it, all the different cultures that you
we hope to keep that, that treasure.
I heard somewhere that Transylvania was like Elizabethan England or Renaissance England, referred to Transylvania as the fairy kingdom because of the arts and what's going on there. Is that, have you guys heard that?
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be so, like you mentioned,
yes,
such a cultural beacon with...
yeah, there are even in Hungarian referring it to Tündérkert, but that could have two meanings. But yeah.
Could you talk a little more about innovation? When it was okay and when it became not okay? That was kind of what the Reformation was about in a lot of ways, wasn't it?
Well, it was not okay. It was not okay even in the beginning. It depends from which side I'm looking on. If I'm Catholic, it was not okay. If I'm an Orthodox, then it was not okay even on the 11th century. It's not okay. How do you identify Christianity? This is the main question. If Christianity means to believe in Jesus Christ as Son of God, Redeemer, Savior, whatever, then we are not Christians. Although we consider ourselves Christians. Nobody cares about it because we are not considered Christians even in Transylvania nowadays. If you question the deity of Jesus Christ, not you, just to imagine to question the deity of Jesus Christ in the 16th century. Would be that innovation or not? How far can you go? How quickly will they associate you with the Muslims and will call you a Muslim or a Jew? What kind of Christian are you if you do not adore Jesus Christ as your Savior? Then you are not anymore a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are our enemy. And this was the card what they played for centuries in Transylvania. You are Muslims. They called us Turks. That was another epithet what we got as Unitarians. Turks. Or semi-Jews. We were just missing that small thing.
Did the religious tolerance include Jews and Muslims? Or just...
No. The religious tolerance did not include Jews and Muslims. There were no Jewish or Muslim community living in Transylvania. However, in the 17th century, they were permitted to settle in Gyulafehévár. That was the capital.
Jews or Muslims?
Jews and Muslims, both. But they could not proselytize.
Yeah.
That's the word. Proselytize. And even the Anabaptists were allowed to settle. Not because the country or the ruler, the Calvinist ruler was that tolerant, but because they were excellent artisans.
Yeah.
Economic.
It's all about money.
So when did the practical religious freedom end?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
But didn't it evolve to be a time when there was just one state religion and you didn't have any option to exercise your own belief?
I think it's not the case of Transylvania.
No? So we could say it was continuous from the first time when Isabella was allowing the two, Lutheran and Catholicism.
Even before Isabel, there were the Eastern religions and the Westerns, and they lived together.
Yeah.
So it was not like Germany, or it was not like Spain. Well, the whole Reformation has a very mercantile part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why Spain remained Catholic? And Italy. Italy is not the best example. Spain is a better example, I think. They had their colonies. They had their colonies and they had a lot of money exploiting the colonies. Europe had no colonies, but they needed the money. They needed the
Trade.
the trade, the capital. So the best thing is to have a Reformation. There is the ideology. The Catholic Church is, wow, very corrupted. And then we can make capital from their wealth. Luther was very lucky because he got a royal helper. I mean, he had someone on the back. If Servetus would have been that lucky, then now the whole world would be Unitarian. He was born in a bad time. I mean,
I think Poland invited the Jews into Poland for the same reason, because of their skill in metalworking, and so they were being persecuted everywhere, so the King of Poland said, come settle here.
What religion was Poland before that?
Probably Catholic, because this was 13th century, I think, or 14th century. So it would have been.
Was there something about, I remember, I don't know if it was Rob or who, but was talking about one of the issues with Francis David too was that Biandrata, and I guess it was political, wanted him to agree to a catechism, and he refused to have a catechism. I remember something about that.
Not quite. For centuries, Biandrata was considered the black sheep of our history. He was the one who betrayed Francis David, and he was the bad guy. Of course, he was not Hungarian, he was Italian. Who cares? He's the bad guy. And no, in fact, Biandrata was the one who saved the church. On the 16th century, it was impossible to go that far as Francis David went. Now, just think on 16th century terminology, and in a very newly established country, with a new prince. I talked yesterday just a bit about, he wanted to marry, he wanted to establish a royal family. There are a lot of politics involved. How far can you go as a ruler if you have on your real such arch heretics who question the divinity of Christ? What kind of Christians are you? What do you expect from us, from a Christian Europe? What kind of help or aid do you want if you do not expel them, you not kill them, torture them? It was a huge problem. So the politics is all the time involved, and it's right behind. It's the stick which butters.
And he never married, did he?
No.
No. He died 2 years later.
He died too young, and there were discussions. First, he wanted to marry Prince, Habsburg princess.
Yeah.
They talked about and they make arrangements. Then, no, we do not marry a Turk.
Yeah.
And then there were thoughts about marrying the daughter of a Venetian patricius, a Venetian nobleman.
Oh, okay.
Venetian, yeah.
Doge.
Dutch. And it did not work again. And meantime, there were all these internal problems. And then the Turks were over there. I mean, the Turks came again and again to conquer Vienna. It was a battlefield. It's not black and white. The whole thing. It's not about the good guys and the bad guys. It's very...
Could you talk a little bit about modern Unitarianism in Transylvania? How it's changed?
Which would be Unitarianism nowadays?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you interested in? Theology or church politics?
More the theology.
Theology. Then I think I can identify the Unitarianism of nowadays as a progressive Christian denomination. Christian meaning absolutely not what you think about Christians. So I know that when American Unitarian Universalists hear about Christianity, then they this is what we do not want. It's not that type of Christianity. It's a progressive Christianity. Very simple. We do not worship Jesus. We follow him. Not on that way. What would Jesus do on this day? No. Do not do to the other what you don't want to do to yourself. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Is it
the golden rule.
Yeah, the golden rule.
He's a teacher.
Yeah. And the prophet. Not the last one. It's not the seal of the prophet, like the other great prophet, Muhammad, blessed be his name as well. And we have just a few ministers who are good in Romanian and fluent in Romanian. Maybe there will be someone who is interested to be there. But I think the potential right now is in the main cities. Kolozsvár has a fantastic potential to start some missionary work amongst Romanians. In Romanian and in English. I will have a service, by the way, a wedding in December. I will marry, if someone, a Brazilian with a Romanian, and the whole service will be in English. Up in Turku. Well, not in December, but the bride and groom will survive. Well, they should dress appropriately.
Well, we got you ready for that.
Yeah. It could be worse. They could be getting married through Skype somehow. One in Brazil and the other in Romania.
I won't do that. That's fine. No.
And where will they settle? Is that where they're going to go?
London.
Oh, London.
London. And they were asking for a church and for a licensed person who will marry them. And my Romanian friends just told me, well, you know, there is... Okay, guys, then let's have it in December. We'll have time to meet before and then to prepare the whole thing. This would be my first international service in Transylvania. I preached many times in Romanian, mostly during funerals, because the whole tendency was Romanian, except the poor guy who was Hungarian, but she really did not care anymore about the language. But the audience, yes.
But why did they have you? Because the deceased was Unitarian?
Yes, it was Unitarian and Hungarian, but all the family or the friends, everyone else was Romanian. And then what can I do? Have a service in Hungarian? Well, the hymns were in Hungarian. A short prayer in Hungarian, and then everything else was Romanian.
All the Hungarians are bilingual. They have to, for school.
Yes, they are
Pretty
bilingual.
much, if they go by
They are
that.
bilingual, but sometimes their Romanian is worse than my English. Then you can have an idea of what I'm talking about.
But there's no reverse in Transylvania where the Romanians learn Hungarian in school.
A few. No, they don't have Hungarian classes, but there are Romanian parents. There is a couple in Kolozsvár. It's not important. They are Romanians, and their boy went to Hungarian kindergarten, and now he's attending Hungarian school, and they are Romanians, and they speak Romanian at home, and they speak a bit of Hungarian. So there are good signs when there is a lot of open-mindedness and open hearts, but meantime there are bad signs as well.
I think we should say thank you very much.
Thank you.